Mach 2 power and performance. Each mission flown provides that extra bit of knowledge and experience in the handling of fast jet fighters. Eventually, at the end of the course, successful pilots are ready for their first assignment to an operational unit within the gigantic force called frontal aviation, there to fly alongside the best Soviet pilots in the air.
The MiG-21 has got to be one of my favorite airplanes. I really enjoyed the F-14s, of course, which was a much more complex airplane than the MiG-21, a much more capable airplane than the MiG-21. But you paid a certain price in the amount of time it took you to get the thing pre-flighted and started up and get all the systems up and operating. So the MiG-21 combines a lot of really good performance while being very straightforward and simple and kind of quick and dirty, if you will, to get the thing up in the air. So that airplane would have to count as one of my favorite. As a fighter pilot in three different cruises. And it's an airplane that we were always trained and ready to be on the lookout for. So it's been real interesting to go see how it compares to what we thought it was going to be like, go see how it actually flies compared to what our literature said on it, and it's real impressive.
This MiG-21 memorial commemorates a Soviet pilot who rammed his aircraft into an intruding plane. Beyond the gate is a frontal aviation base in the giant region of Siberia in the Far East. One of the officers stationed there is Anatoly Kachuk, younger son of wartime bomber pilot David Kachuk. Anatoly Kachuk's regiment is equipped with the MiG-21 BIS, many thousands of which have been built for the Soviet frontal air forces. Carrying on where his father left off, Anatoly teaches his pilots how to navigate and how to win in air combat. Frequent flights are made with pairs of aircraft, usually carrying UV-1657 unguided rocket pods. Pilots are instructed in how to attack ground targets with unguided rockets and also with the twin 23mm internal cannon. In the air combat role, MiG-21s often fire the K-13A missile, which homes by sensing the infrared emissions from the target's tailpipe. The CO from the Far Eastern republics gives a lesson in interception tactics while emphasizing the absolute need of mastering one's aircraft.
Да еще рано открываешь огонь, вот тебе и недолет. Ясно? Строят маневр одинаково, на установленных дистанциях, интервалах. Все как положено. Коротченко стреляет из Нурсов 2 прямых попадания, прямо в двигатель.
Using a model of the swing-wing MiG-23, He explains the next maneuver expected of his pupils. They will climb more than 3 miles at 375 miles per hour before performing a split-S maneuver to level flight.
Стреляет из Нурсов 2 прямых попадания, прямо в двигатель. Все как положено. Коротченко.
Whenever possible, pupils walk through the entire mission on a plot marked out on the airfield, each student representing the relative position of his aircraft. But the big hangar doors are soon opened. Pupils and instructors taxiing out in their MiG-23U trainers. Each is capable of over Mach 2, and the MiG-23U was one of the most common combat trainers in the Soviet frontal aviation group. They take off in pairs down a runway whose size matches the vastness of the country. Climbing for altitude, pupils and instructors know that on this mission, they need not wear oxygen masks. They are going to practice the interception of hostile aircraft at medium altitude. Nothing very demanding, but to the inexperienced pilot, the sheer power and complexity of the aircraft poses a real challenge. More than 5,000 miles and 8 time zones away from his younger brother Anatoly, we find the frontline regiment of Viktor Kachuk. Armed with the UV-1657 and UV-3257 rocket launcher, this aircraft is another version of the MiG-23, the 23MF. The aircraft's GSH-23L twin-barrel cannon are serviced and armed before each mission. In the locker room, the pilots dress for action. Today, their ordnance will include the simple K-13A air-to-air missile with an infrared homing head. As usual, Viktor Kachuk will lead the aircraft detailed for this practice mission. Between them, the aircraft will carry several hundred 57mm rockets, which can be fired in any kind of weather, day or night. Fuel is always important, and the tower quickly gives clearance for successive takeoffs using full afterburner. More aircraft of this type are serving in Soviet frontline regiments than any other combat aircraft in the world. Some NATO critics have suggested that the MiG cannot maneuver very well. They have likened it to a juggernaut truck or a supertanker. Recent experience in the Gulf has lent further support to these critics, in that mass-produced Soviet military hardware was simply not up to par with the more complex Western systems. Arriving over the target, Kachuk and his men roll over into dive attacks, and taking careful aim, fire their salvos of supersonic rockets. Frontal aviation probably goes through more rockets in a year than the rest of the world's air forces combined. Some of the aircraft are carrying bombs, and others cluster dispensers. Guided by radar, the MiGs head for home. Half an hour later, landing gears extended, they land one after another, slowed by their drag chutes.